This is my personal message for you, not wrapped in velvet nor laced with golden ribbons, but born from the rawest truth I can offer. There are moments in life when silence is not a sanctuary, and this is one of those times. I cannot afford to let this feeling remain unspoken, not when its weight has carved itself into the walls of my heart like ancient writing meant to be read by only one soul, you. In this world full of noise and fleeting words, what I feel for you stands apart like a lighthouse holding steady against the most violent storms. You might never fully understand what your presence has meant in my life. You didn't just walk in, you arrived like a season one didn't know I was waiting for. With a single glance, you redefined my understanding of closeness. Where others offered routine conversation, you brought meaning. Where many gave attention, you gave intention. I want you to know that everything I say here is not meant to impress you, but to show you the mirror of my soul where your name is written in quiet, luminous ink. I've watched the world move past us, people chase after what shines on the surface, but you were always the deeper light. The one that burns slow and true, the kind that doesn't blind but reveals. You've made me realize that connection doesn't always arrive in fanfare. Sometimes, it slips into your life like a whisper and suddenly you realize it was the loudest thing you've ever known. That's how you came to me, not as noise but as meaning. No matter what people say, or what distance time tries to place between us, my heart holds a room only you can enter. I don't care for perfection. I don't need flawless moments. I simply want the truth of you, the unedited, unfiltered, beautifully imperfect version that speaks without fear and breathes without apology. I see you, and I still stay. I hear you, and I don't walk away. That's how much your essence matters to me. There were times I doubted the purpose of timing. Maybe we met too soon, or maybe we met exactly when we were supposed to. But regardless of when, you are one of those rare souls I would recognize even in the next lifetime. If this message does anything at all, I hope it reminds you that someone out there carries your name like a sacred song. Not to be shouted, but to be remembered in moments of stillness when the world feels too heavy. You've taught me that love doesn't always come dressed in roses or poetry. Sometimes, it's quiet understanding. A shared glance. The feeling of being safe in someone's presence even when the world around us is unraveling. That is what you are to me, a quiet shelter I didn't know I needed. I may not always be able to say these things aloud, but believe me, they live within me every single day, breathing quietly beneath the rhythm of my existence. If you ever wonder if you've made an impact in this life, let this message be your answer. You've done more than leave footprints on my path. You've shifted the entire road. I am not who I used to be, not because you changed me, but because you awakened something that was always asleep within. Your kindness, your laughter, your resilience, they all became a map that led me home to myself. This message isn't just about love, it's about gratitude. I am grateful for your presence, even in absence. I am thankful for the conversations that felt like lifelines, the silences that felt like prayers, and the memories that will live long after time decides to erase our names from its pages. You have left a fingerprint on my story that will never fade, not even with distance, not even with forgetting. Maybe you'll read this one day when you need it most. Maybe it will arrive like a message in a bottle, drifting through your life exactly when your heart needs reminding of how deeply you are valued. I want you to know this message isn't about wanting something from you, it's about giving something to you. My truth. My voice. My soul in its most sincere form. If I could give you anything, it wouldn't be flowers or gifts. I would give you peace. The kind that settles deep in your bones and makes you feel like you're exactly where you need to be. I would give you assurance that who you are is more than enough, and you never have to bend yourself just to fit into a version of love that doesn't see you clearly. Life will continue to twist and turn. We may not always walk beside each other, but I hope you carry this with you, my unwavering belief in you. Not because of what you do or how you look or what you achieve, but because of the heart you carry and the light you bring. Even if the world forgets, I won't. I will remember you always, not out of habit, but out of reverence. This is my personal message for you, one I've held close for too long. It is an offering, an unveiling, a truth wrapped in the quiet courage it takes to say, you mattered. You still do, you always will. And no matter where life leads you, let these words walk with you like a secret blessing, whispered from the soul of someone who once saw everything in you, and never stopped believing. There are certain truths too large for silence, and this is one of them. My heart still speaks your name in places I thought I had buried the sound. Time may move forward, the seasons may change their attire, but my memory of you remains untouched by erosion. I close my eyes sometimes and feel your presence as though it never left. You're not just someone I knew, you're a chapter that never stopped writing itself inside me. And even when the world tells me to let go, I find myself holding on, not to hope, but to honesty. The honesty that you were real. We were real. And that matters, even if nothing else does. You've become a rhythm in the background of my life, subtle but ever present. It's in the way I pause when I hear a certain song. It's in how I linger on certain words because they remind me of how you used to speak them. And maybe I'll never get the chance to tell you all of this in person. Maybe these words will never reach you, but even so, they deserve to be spoken. Because the truth deserves light, and you deserve to know you were loved in the most genuine, wordless, unconditional way. There's something sacred in the way you left an imprint on my soul. It wasn't dramatic or loud, it was quiet, deliberate, almost reverent. You existed in my world like a prayer I never knew I was whispering. And every time I think I've healed, it's not pain that revisits me, it's longing. Not to change the past, but to simply sit once more in the calm of your voice, in the steadiness of your presence. Some people are storms. You were my stillness. If I had one more moment with you, I wouldn't ask you to stay. I wouldn't plead for anything. I would simply thank you, for the way you saw me when I didn't even see myself, for the times you listened without needing to fix me, for the way your eyes made even silence feel like poetry. You didn't owe me any of that, and yet you gave it so freely. That kind of grace lives on, even when people don't. It becomes part of the air around us, part of the you helped shape me, even if you didn't know it. I've wrestled with the idea of fate, wondering if people like you only pass through once to remind us of what's possible. But deep down, I believe that the rarest connections don't just vanish, they live on in subtle ways. In the way we treat the next person. In the standards we silently uphold. In the kindness we give ourselves because someone once showed us we were worthy. That's what you did. You changed how I love, not just others, but myself. There is no bitterness in these words. There's no blame or regret. There's just remembrance. I remember the goodness. I remember the way you made heavy things feel light. I remember the laughter that never had to be earned and the comfort that arrived without explanation. You were a reminder that love, in its purest form, doesn't take, it gives. And you gave, even when I had nothing to offer in return. That is what made it real. In a world so obsessed with proof, I have none. I have no pictures, no letters, no promises. Just 1,000 invisible moments burned into the fabric of who I've become. And honestly, that's enough. I don't need the world to see what we were. I just needed to know that for one moment in time, we existed, beautifully, honestly, fearlessly. That kind of memory is not a burden. It's a gift. One I will carry with grace for the rest of my life. Sometimes I imagine what you'd say if you read this. Would you smile? Would your heart ache a little? Or would you simply nod, recognizing yourself in these lines? Whatever the case, know this, you made a difference. Not in grand, sweeping gestures, but in quiet, steady ways that change the way I breathe, the way I think, the way I love. That kind of impact doesn't fade. It echoes. It echoes in the spaces you once stood, and in the spaces I now stand stronger because of you. Even if we never cross paths again, know that you live in more than just memory. You live in the parts of me that are more open, more honest, more capable of love because of what you gave. You were not a chapter that ended, you are a thread that continues, weaving through every page I write from here on out. And if that's all you ever were meant to be, then you were everything. Because sometimes, one soul is all it takes to wake another. This message isn't about rekindling what was. It's not a plea, and it's not a goodbye. It's a sacred offering, one heart, speaking to another across time, distance, and silence. It's the truth finally released, unburdened and pure. You mattered. You still do. And if the stars ever align again, if life ever allows one more meeting, I'll greet you not with questions or explanations, but with the simple, timeless truth. I'm glad it was you. There are moments when I still feel you in the room, not as a presence I can touch, but as an energy that lingers. You exist in the in-between places. The pause before a song begins, the breath I take before I speak, the quiet I fall into when the world grows too loud. I've searched for ways to replace that feeling, to find echoes of it in other voices, other faces, other arms. But the truth remains unwavering, there is only one you. And this message, this confession, is not about the pain of your absence, but about the beauty of your existence in my life, however brief or distant it may be now. I don't think people understand how rare it is to meet someone who sees you, not the version you present, not the image you polish, but the you beneath all that. The weary, wild, wonderful you. You saw me, and in a world that constantly asked me to perform, you let me just be. That gift, of acceptance without expectation, was one of the most healing experiences of my life. You didn't try to fix me. You didn't try to change me. You simply stood beside me, and somehow, that was enough to make me believe I was worthy of being stood beside. There's a certain kind of love that doesn't need definition, doesn't beg for labels or timelines. It just is. It exists quietly but powerfully, like gravity. I've come to believe that's what we shared. Maybe not conventional love. Maybe not a forever built on vows and certainty. But something even more resilient, a connection that exists beyond logic, beyond time. A soul recognition. And even now, when I close my eyes and think of you, it's not nostalgia I feel, it's a kind of reverence, a quiet bow of gratitude to the universe for letting our paths intertwine. Sometimes I wonder if you feel it too. That tug in your spirit when you pass a place we once shared or hear a line of a song we both loved. I wonder if you pause, just for a second, and remember the energy between us. Because I do. And not with sadness, but with something deeper. A gentle ache, yes, but also a warmth. A knowing that no matter how far the tides have carried us, the mark we left on each other cannot be undone. Some connections are written in bone, in blood, in breath. Ours was one of those. You were the exception in a life full of conditions. With you, I didn't have to explain why I was quiet, or why my eyes sometimes carried storms. You understood. You read between my silences. You met me in the depths, and you didn't flinch. That kind of understanding is rare and unforgettable. I can never pretend it didn't happen. I wouldn't want to. Because even though our story didn't end the way stories often do, it still deserves to be honored. Not for what it could have been, but for what it was, sacred, transformative, real. So if you ever find yourself wondering, if you ever question your impact, your worth, your place in someone's heart, let this message answer you. You were, and always will be, one of the most profound chapters of my life. Not because you stayed, but because you mattered. You still do. And while life moves forward and days keep changing their clothes, the part of me that carries you remains untouched by time. This isn't just memory. This is love, in its quietest, truest form, whispering through every word I've written.